You're welcome back. Well, my next guest used to be one of the main spokespeople for the Church of Scientology in the United States, but they now see him as a traitor after he left the organisation. Well, before we speak to Mike Rinder, let's take a look at this clip from the recent midweek documentary that featured Scientology.
On Dublin's Abbey Street, you'll find the Irish headquarters of Scientology, the most talked about cult in the world.
Suppressive people, that kind of thing. I mean, you don't allow criticism.
Oh, no, a suppressive person isn't critical. A suppressive person is a person who denies the rights of others.
Meet its creator, speculative fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. In the 50s, he published a self-help book, Dianetics, and it became the Bible of his new religion. Through a type of counselling they called auditing, practitioners aim to consciously re-experience painful or traumatic events in their past in order to free themselves of their limiting effects.
Being a Scientologist, when you drive past an accident, it's not like anyone else. As you drive past, you know you have to do something about it because you know you're the only one that can really help.
Along with Kirstie Alley, John Travolta and Juliette Lewis, Scientology has a huge celebrity following. The religion offers its members a wide range of life improvement courses that charge anything from €50 to thousands of euro. But the religion's methods of self-analysis have been criticised, and the organisation has drawn accusations of cultism. It was time to investigate if these accusations were fair. On Dublin's Abbey Street every month, a group calling themselves Anonymous gather outside the Scientology headquarters to protest. The group is made up of ex-members, those with family members involved, and those who simply believe that this group is a fake. So just who is behind the masks? Behind one is ex-member Pete Griffiths.
The whole of Scientology is set up like it's like a ladder with courses at every level that you have to pay for and do. They do say that you're allowed to walk away after doing one or two courses. You're not. They want you to do the next one and the next one and the next one until you're £500,000 worse off.
Through the company's office, I find documents showing that the Irish branch, which claims to have sold 100,000 Scientology-related goods, filed accounts recently showing a deficit of nearly €700,000. But thankfully, the money in the international organisation is phenomenal, and it can support the Irish branch. Tax filings from the early 1990s in the US show that the church was earning about $300 million a year back then, but the paper trail disappears after that. Celebrities like Tom Cruise, however, are thought to have donated around $25 million, and over 160 countries have branches, so the organisation doesn't appear to have a cash flow problem.
You're taught that what Ron Hubbard wrote is the only way forward for mankind. He had all the answers to all man's problems. When you look at the evidence, you find out, no, he didn't. Because, you know, there's no evidence to prove that any of that happened. I mean, it's just not there. But when you're involved, you're very insular and you're very isolated. You're not allowed to read books, you're not allowed to watch TV, read newspapers. They have control over you. And it's one of the aspects of a cult that they will try and control your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviour and your information, and Scientology tries to control all of those things.
Well, Mike, you were one of Scientology's biggest defenders at one stage. You were at an extremely senior level within the church in the United States, and you've defected. Why?
Because I'm in disagreement with the activities of the church, particularly under the dictatorship of David Miscavige, who took over after L. Ron Hubbard passed away. And there are things that I have, I believe that at this point that the church itself is perpetrators of human rights violations.
Like what?
Well, two things primarily. One is the disconnection of families. And what that means is if someone is no longer in agreement with the church and speaks out or talks about what they've seen, their families are told by the church that either they disconnect from them, and in other words, have no further communications with them.
Cut off completely?
Completely.
Okay.
Completely. Or they have, they will be thrown out of the church. So it's a very black and white. You're either with us or you're against us, and there's nothing in between. And the second thing that I find very objectionable, or actually there's three, but the second big category of thing is the focus on money. You know, the church has become what I call the vulture culture. It is focused entirely on taking money from people and collecting money from people, and the idea of helping anyone with Scientology has taken a back seat to how much money can be gotten from them. And then I guess the third thing is the physical abuse of people, particularly at the hands of David Miscavige.
What do you mean, beating up people?
Beating up people.
You've been accused of that yourself in the past.
Yes, well, you know, the church is very good at turning around anybody who comes out and says anything about what's going on inside the church. It automatically gets turned into, oh, well, see, that person did it. They're the ones that did it. They're all to blame. There has been grown up a culture of violence in the highest levels of the Church of Scientology perpetrated by Miscavige.
But did you ever beat anyone?
Yes, I did.
Under what, the guidance of David Miscavige?
Absolutely.
He would tell you to beat someone. Why?
Absolutely.
Beat them how
because
severely?
They were not to create black and blue, just the purpose of the physical assaults is only to intimidate, not to create real physical harm. I've never seen anybody that had an arm broken or even a bruise or something drastic like that. But it's the mental control by reason of you can't fight back. There's nothing that you can do in response. So it's sort of an intimidation method. But the physical abuse, those beatings aren't the only sort of abuse that occurs. There is also a lot of mental abuse.
I know a lot of people might remember the BBC Panorama documentary, and famously the reporter John Sweeney effectively blowing up. He was goaded so much at the time by a colleague of yours. But you were in a lot of those shots.
I was.
Throughout that programme. What was going on there? What were you doing to push the reporter's buttons to make him explode like that?
Well, Colette, and if any of your audience saw the subsequent program that John Sweeney did, when Marty Rathbun and I then came back to the United Kingdom and said, John, listen, here's what was really going on. And I showed him some of the documents where Tommy Davis, the other gentleman that you were talking about, actually promoted to David Miscavige that he was going to be able to get John Sweeney to blow up. And he pushed him, and he pushed him, and there's a lot of things that you didn't see on camera that happened, all with the intent of getting that sort of reaction out of John. And that was a very designed effort to try and make him look bad, make him look like he's crazy.
He was followed?
He was followed.
He was called a bigot repeatedly?
Repeatedly, and he did not like that.
Harassed?
And just one thing, John Sweeney is not a bigot. I know the man personally. I have spent a lot of time with him subsequently. He is as far from a bigot as you could possibly find.
But these were all the techniques that the church was employing to get that reaction. Now that you're outside of the church, do you think you're being spied on, that you're being followed, that you're being harassed, that people are trying to push your buttons?
Do I think? No, I know that.
How come?
I know, because I'm followed everywhere I go. I have people outside my house. You know, I arrived at Heathrow Airport to come and visit friends, and there's people waiting there with cameras. I arrived at Dublin Airport today, and there were people there with cameras.
How did they know you were here in Dublin?
Well, you know, here in Dublin, the subject of this debate has been talked about on some blogs. And
this is the debate you're taking part in Trinity College tomorrow night.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And, you know, on Facebook and that sort of thing. But generally, the church has its own internal travel agency, so they are able to access flight information, so they know where I'm going whenever I go anywhere.
Okay, so are Scientologists here in Ireland then conceivably watching this programme tonight and taking an interest in the people who work on this programme and who might have researched it and figuring out all sorts of things about it? Is that the kind of level you're talking about?
Yes, it is, but honestly, Colette, I don't think that, you know, once I'm gone out of your hair, you don't have anything to worry about.
All right. They turned up here at the building this evening, by the way, and they gave us...
Well, see, now there's one. How they knew that I was going to appear on this program, the only correspondence that I have had with the producers of this program is on the internet.
Yeah.
There isn't anybody else that knows that I was going to be here.
Well, they were here. They've been in the building in the last few hours. They gave us this, which is a pretty kind of negative put-together book about you. They also gave us a statement. I haven't literally had time to go through it, but it looks to me that they're sort of dodgy things, or trying to create an air of dodginess or something about you, as opposed to elite. You've seen it before?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Many times.
I'm just going to read out the statement. It's from the Church of Scientology. I don't have time to go through the 3 pages, but it says about you, Mike. Your guest, Mike Rinder, renounced his faith in Scientology in 2007 and is paid to attack the Church of Scientology. Is that true? You being paid?
Not at all.
Okay. He's a former external affairs officer of the church who was removed from his position of authority more than 6 years ago and has been expelled from the Scientology religion. The enclosed brochure details his unethical behaviour. They say unethical, by the way, not illegal. Unethical behaviour, violent acts towards his family and other parishioners, and continuous lies. I also enclose a video that documents his dishonest and violent behaviour, and it goes on and on. But this isn't the first time you've seen this kind of thing.
No.
Tom Cruise, in the clip that we were showing there, he has a very, very close relationship with David Miscavige. David Miscavige being, is he the equivalent of the Pope within the Church of Scientology?
Well, he likes to call himself the Pope of Scientology, yes.
Okay. So he's unnaturally close with Tom Cruise.
That's a good word. That was the word I first used on Australian TV, and I think that describes it perfectly.
Okay. Does their relationship make you uncomfortable in any way? Is it an unusual relationship?
It's a very unusual relationship, and I think it should make Tom Cruise very uncomfortable too.
You've met him, Tom Cruise?
I have, yes.
What kind of a guy is he in relation to Scientology?
In relation, well,
well, he publicly endorses it. I mean, we've seen the YouTube clips.
He publicly endorses Scientology because that is what David Miscavige wants him to do. Look, Tom Cruise, when I knew him, was a terrific guy. I had no bad things to say about him in any way, shape, or form. I think that
Do you know secrets about him?
Do I know secrets about him? No.
Does anyone within the Church of Scientology?
Oh, yes. David Miscavige does.
Secrets that he wouldn't want anyone else to know about?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I think that he has become, he's like a clone of Miscavige at this point. He acts in the way that Miscavige thinks that he should act, and that's very unfortunate.
What about John Travolta?
Less so. He is less under the thrall of Miscavige and is less of a close buddy of Miscavige.
But what is it about Scientology that draws in so many people, and yourself included, Mike, because you're still calling yourself a Scientologist, an independent Scientologist.
Correct.
What is it about it that is so fascinating?
Well, it's a philosophy, Colette, that provides a lot of answers and a lot of insight into life and why things are the way they are and how one interrelates with other people and the world and the universe and God and all sorts of different things. And it provides not just answers for the hereafter, but answers for the right here now. So, you know, the question is often posed, why are there so many celebrities involved in Scientology? And it doesn't really have to do with the fact that there has been some massive campaign to try and recruit celebrities. The reason why it's popular with celebrities, or artists in particular, is that Scientology has a lot of elements to it that help people with their ability to communicate, or their ability to address an audience, or their ability to be happy and not so internally troubled that they can't project themselves out into the world, which is a very important thing for an artist.
For Irish Scientologists that might be watching us tonight, Mike, and who might be in the same sort of frame of mind as yourself, who would like to be Scientologists, want to be independent Scientologists, but don't agree with the practices and the way it's carried out, getting out of it is a problem and is difficult. Is there advice for them?
Well, I think the simple advice, Colette, is the church tries to get every Scientologist to believe that the only way that you can practice Scientology is if you come into the church. And that's just not true. There are a lot of people who have walked away from the church and who are practicing their faith outside of the scope of the church. The church would have them believe that if they walk away, that's it. There's nothing more. You can't ever have Scientology. Okay. There is no more Scientology for you. And that is a big lie that is being perpetrated. And, you know, it's interesting. They write in their statement about how I renounced my faith or something. I never did.
You haven't.
I never did.
All right.
I mean, they also say that I was, you know, removed from my position or something. You know, I was, these stories change routinely, you know. The last thing that I did before I left, I walked out of the church, I walked away from my family, knowing I was walking away from my family, was I was the international spokesperson for the Church of Scientology.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, time has beaten us, Mike, tonight, but I know a lot of people will be fascinated in hearing what you have to say and the arguments for and against Scientology, and if so, you are speaking at Trinity College here in Dublin tomorrow, and it's with the Philosophical Society, and the debate, the motion is, this House believes Scientology is as legitimate as any other religion, and that debate is tomorrow night if you want to hear more from Mike Rinder and Scientology. Mike, thanks very much for coming in to us this evening.
Thank you, Colette.
All right, now, have you ever